Anchi, should we start?
Yep, go ahead.
Shikhar? So, good afternoon, everybody. I welcome you all to our beautiful campus of CSIR IMTECH, which is situated in city beautiful Chandigarh. So I, on behalf of CSIR IMTECH, extend a warm welcome to all participants, speakers who have joined us for this curtain raiser ceremony, which we have organized to disseminate information about India International Science Festival 2020, which will be held in December 22nd to 25th December 2020 on virtual mode. So this IISF was started by Ministry of Science and Technology from 2015 onward, and this is the 6th edition, and we are today we have invited our 3 speakers from outside, who will be sharing their experiences, because the theme of this year's IISF is Science for Atmanirbhar Bharat and Global Welfare. So all our speakers, they are following Atmanirbhar only. So I would like to first I will to begin with I will invite our director, Dr. Sanjeev Khosla, to officially welcome our guests and participants. Dr. Khosla, please.
Thanks, Neeraj. Welcome everyone to this event where we are initiating the process of the 6th edition of India International Science Festival. This is the 6th one. It has been held in various places around India, but this is the first time when it's being held virtually. So it's a new experience, and I would like to invite all and everyone to this event, which starts from 22nd of December. It would be a nice experience. One of the main reasons why this idea was mooted in the first place is because a society that actually believes in scientific thinking and scientific way of life does much better than other societies, and India has imbibed this philosophy, and we would like to make sure that an institute like ours promote this and take it to the general society as much as possible. I would like to welcome the 2 guests today, and also the guests on 30th who are going to deliver their lectures. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and coming to this event and shedding light on the areas of your work. I would also like to thank the IMTECH team who has actually made this possible, particularly Neeraj, Anshu, and Chandrasekhar. I would also like to thank other members of the team who have made this possible. And without taking more of your time, I would give it back to Neeraj to start the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, MS sir, for your motivation. So now, since we are disseminating the information about India's International Science Festival, so we have a small video for you. So I would request everybody to watch the video and try to register for this event, which will be held in December.
भारतीय विज्ञान के इतिहास और नवीन वैज्ञानिक उपलब्धियों को जन जन तक पहुंचाने के लिए एक महोत्सव की परिकल्पना की गई। विज्ञान भारती यानी विभा की इस सोच को साकार रूप देने के लिए ही साल 2015 में भारतीय अंतर्राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान महोत्सव की शुरुआत हुई और इसी परंपरा को निभाते हुए इस बार भी छठे IISF का आयोजन 22 से 25 दिसंबर को आयोजित किया जा रहा है, लेकिन कोविड के चलते इस बार का IISF वर्चुअल माध्यम से होगा।
हमारा तो प्रयास है कि लाखों से लोगों को इसमें जुड़ा पाए, क्योंकि ये एक हमारा अवसर होता है जिस वक्त हम हमारे प्रयोगशाला में जो विज्ञान होता है वो लोगों तक उसे पहुंचा पाए। क्या होता है कि काफी लोगों में ये रुचि रहती है कि वैज्ञानिक चार दीवारों के पीछे में क्या करते हैं, किस तरह के एक्सपेरिमेंट्स करते हैं, उससे क्या निष्कर्ष होता है, उससे समाज को क्या फायदा होता है। तो ऐसे सवालों का जो जवाब है वो आसान नहीं होता है, क्योंकि विज्ञान को बहुत सरल भाषा में लोगों तक पहुंचाना ये बहुत कठिन काम है। और इसलिए IISF जैसे जो फेस्टिवल्स है उनका मकसद यही होता है कि हम लोगों तक हमारा जो एक्साइटमेंट है वो ले जा पाए।
इस बार आत्मनिर्भर भारत एवं विश्व कल्याण के लिए विज्ञान के शीर्षक के तहत विज्ञान से जुड़े 41 विभिन्न विषयों को शामिल किया जाएगा, जिनमें इस बार भारतीय विज्ञान का इतिहास, दर्शन और विज्ञान, एग्रीटेक, स्वच्छ वायु, ऊर्जा, अपशिष्ट और स्वच्छता, जैव विविधता और विज्ञान कूटनीति जैसे प्रासंगिक विषयों को जोड़ा गया है। खास बात है कि भारत सरकार के विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी तथा पृथ्वी विज्ञान मंत्रालय के साथ अब IISF में स्वास्थ्य एवं परिवार कल्याण मंत्रालय सहित इसरो, परमाणु ऊर्जा विभाग और विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी से संबंधित अन्य संस्थान भी सहभागी बन चुके हैं। भारतीय अंतर्राष्ट्रीय विज्ञान महोत्सव अपने हर एडिशन के साथ ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों को जोड़ने में सफल रहा है। इसी को देखते हुए इस बार भी उम्मीद जताई जा रही है कि IISF 2020 डिजिटल तरीके से पहले से भी ज्यादा लोगों तक पहुंचेगा।
Now I think I would like to invite Dr. Anshu to please introduce Dr. Ramji.
Yeah, thank you, Neeraj. I hope I'm audible. And it's a pleasure to introduce Dr. Ramji Palela, who is currently the CEO of the Atal Incubation Center at the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, Hyderabad. Dr. Ramji is a seasoned mentor and an enabler in the life sciences innovation ecosystem. He did his PhD from IIT Hyderabad and then has several degrees to his credit, including a postdoc. He then did his degrees in IPR and MBA. He is currently established under the Niti Aayog, Government of India. Previous to this, Ramji was the Chief Manager, Grants Management Division at IKP Knowledge Park, Hyderabad, and worked closely with the very famous Biotechnology Ignition Grant. All of us know that as BEG, and with BIRAC. And besides that, he has been managing various international and national grants that support biotechnology and R&D startups, as well as academicians and individuals. We are very happy, Dr. Palela, that you have agreed to be a part of this event for the curtain raiser. And we would like to hear from you your opinion and your ideas on the self-reliant, the science for self-reliant India and global welfare. With that brief introduction, I would like to welcome you, and maybe I can share your slides so that we can go ahead.
Please, thank you, Anju, for great introduction, and good evening, and good evening to all of the participants, and especially Dr. Sanjeev Koshla ji, where I couldn't meet you, but yes, this is a fantastic start from the IMTECH side, and your team could able to actually start this kind of outreaching event where many of the people, including students especially, they'll be joining this event so that they can be part of the mega event in the December. So I just want to focus majorly about the student innovation in India. If you can see past 5 to 7 years, uh, a lot of changes, especially student focused programs. Of course, we have PhD postdoc level fellowship programs to actually get the best scientists back to India, so that they can actually serve our nation with several invention and innovation based research. So in that context, I'd like to mention and stress much onto the student innovation programs that government of India has introduced. And even Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji mentioned several other brought many other initiatives where we have to stand on our feet and join our hands to collaborate each other so that we can actually see the self reliance of India, where we actually help the global situation, global economy, so that we can actually take care of the global welfare initiatives in the planet. So, in that context, today, quickly to address on these specific programs and what are the student-driven initiatives that are in India. Briefly, I'll be mentioning. I'm sorry, I may not be covering many of the topics. Many of the programs in this particular theme, but yes, the point is that today we have fantastic platforms for students, be it CSIR, GBT, DST, and many other ministries. Even one best example before I actually go to my slides, to say that the COVID pandemic actually opened our eyes to actually work on a war foot, where all the ministries actually synergistically worked to help each other how to actually combat COVID, and it actually helped us actually how we can actually strategize our R&D as well as translation of research activities. I think with that, I think this IISF will be a great platform to many of the students to actually consider this journey of invention and innovation, so that we can actually be self-reliance. Can you please go to the next slide, Pranshu? Yeah, so I just mentioned to you already, how we can actually stand on our own feet so that we can actually touch upon every societal factors and segments, so that we can actually touch upon all the sectors, be it a primary, secondary, or tertiary, so that we can actually use our resources more efficiently for the betterment of the nation. Next slide, please.
Hello, Rafi, can you see the next slide?
No, I think it's a kind of lag out there, but it's okay. Yeah. So I'm talking about a particular age groups in the nation where, the 25 years age group and 35 years age group, because I think that is the only age group that can actually solve their own problems, and the children's problems or elderly people's problems. I think these this group is actually highly aggressive in the sense you just actually can motivate or just tell about some platform. They actually do the things just like that. Even if you can see the percentages, they are pretty interesting. But at the same time, what I saw in the past 2 to 3 years, even 15 to 19 or 20 years age group, they are brilliant with the initiatives of Niti Aayog, like AIM, Atal Innovation Mission, the ATLs that we have in the country. Several innovative products came from these very brilliant school students even. So I think these are the groups really, helping our nation. Actually, another 5, 10 years or 20 years, I think India will be, um, touching upon all the sectors, and it will be leader in each and every sector. Already we are in such a position, top, position when compared with other developing countries as well as developed countries as well in different sectors. So STEM, if you can consider, um, gender equality and many other aspects are well considered by the government, and we have to actually encourage these young groups to actually converge into these particular research activities, so that they can actually they can actually bring lot of products in this line. So this will not only improve the opportunities but also improve the quality of life significantly. I mean, today you do for your local development or local initiatives, but again, nationally you are contributing, and this will actually reflect the global economy. Next slide, please. I couldn't see the slide, but yeah. Starting from the school students and even to the PhDs, postdocs, and other freelance innovators who would like to come back to the innovation platforms, I think several other programs have been designed by the government of India. So ATL is the best example. Why I'm telling and stressing upon this particular group is that uh, we actually part of this particular program called Student Innovation Program 2.0 and 3.0 that we are part of. And out of the 7 groups that we coached, 4 of them actually gone to the top 25 in the nation, and actually 2 of them gone to Russia last year and presented their brilliant products to the president of Russia. So after the school students, I think it's a policy. Indian science and technology innovation policy also focusing on how we can actually bridge between these particular groups of school students and undergraduates, graduates, and postgraduates, so that these can actually effectively be tuned up towards innovation and entrepreneurship. So considering those particular streams of education. So Sitare program of BIRAC and GYTI and the other innovation fellowship program of BIRAC and different entrepreneurship and residence programs, several other initiatives have been designed. They can actually use even at the last year of their undergraduation or graduation or post-graduation, they can actually attempt these small grants of 1 lakh, 5 lakhs, 10 or 15 lakhs of grants, and even 50 lakhs of grants through various programs and initiatives by NSTEDB or BIRAC or TDB or even Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Mighty Startup Hub. So these initiatives have been actually put in front of different student groups and various colleges. We actually reach out to at least a few hundreds of college groups and universities yearly, either virtually or physically, so that they can get aware of these particular programs to apply, and they can actually develop their ideas. They can actually validate their ideas and develop their products or processes. So I think considering these various PhD opportunities, PhD fellows, they may say that whether they have to go to abroad or maybe looking for opportunities in India. For example, fast track fellowship programs or assistant professor jobs or any other faculty options in colleges and universities. There is also a kind of program. University innovation clusters have been formed by BIRAC to actually motivate those particular PhDs to use that fellowship to actually translate lab-based technologies into products. So those UIC fellows can actually apply for again BIRAC and other government grants. So or non-government grants as well. So whatnot, lot of other platforms that we are having today, even recent initiative, fantastic fellowship program of Professor M.K. Ban Young Research Fellowship Program, where 75,000 rupees per month for a period of, I'm sorry, 2 to 3 years, I guess, and kind of research grant of 20 lakhs as well. So that's a brilliant program where you can actually do your inventions, exploratory works, then try to actually get into the translation so that you can actually develop some innovative products. So again, likewise, DSTs, Inspire Fellowships, and CSR is also having pool officers and other area of opportunities, which can actually be even recently CSR actually coming up with a lot of incubation activities where even student entrepreneurship activities. In fact, CCMB, Atal Incubation Center, CCMB, we actually supported 4 fellows with this kind of fellowship after their PhD thesis submission. So the patented technologies from the scientists will be actually evaluated at the incubation center like AIC CCMB, and after 6 to 8 months we'll be further validating so that the student can actually form a company along with the scientists. So these kind of programs have been in place. So DBT, BIRAC, and ACIC, Subtle Community Innovation Centers. So these are all actually meant for student innovators. They can actually be the scientists who can actually develop several products. Next one, please. I just quickly want to mention, um, I think this IISF, probably a lot of technologies will be showcased, and several posters and so many things will be there. And you can see some kind of groups like this. If you can see the, sorry, one slide above. So SIP, the school students, whether be it a kind of sensor-based gloves or prosthetic arms with kind of 3 function, 6 function parameters and all, there are actually, if you can see Salboard's technologies. When I'm just walking to the veranda of one of the what is that college, VNR Vignan Jyoti, some guy is working in this prosthetic, and I just asked him, what are you doing? Then he told, sir, I'm in the final year, I'm just trying to explore. So why can't you apply for the big grant? Because you are actually also kind of voice commanding a prosthetic device. So this is kind of value addition to the prosthetic hand. So they got the big grant and they're now validating in different clinical centers. So that is one student, just a student, BTech student, could able to form a company in the 4th year itself. And again, SAL City is working to, I mean, kind of opportunities to the student innovators who want to work as interns in their company. So this company is doing, how to actually differentiate cough so that you can understand the various COPDs. So whether it is a normal cough or whether it's a kind of serious situation, any other infection. So the patterns in the mobile, you will actually understand this could be 99.5% or at least 90 plus, I can say. And I can't say 99, but some of the patterns, they actually check the accuracy till 95% above. So that kind of accuracy, you can say that this pattern, this cough pattern actually inferring to this particular disease or infection. So similarly, one more company is there. They're actually trying to understand normal cough. I mean, any infection-based coughs and TB-based cough. So this kind of differentiation. But SALCIT is doing this particular exercise without any assistive device. Only mobile, microphone itself can actually give the results to you. So I mean, these are kind of examples I'm telling how students can actually involve in this kind of brilliant products. And now SALCIT is actually validating in Apollo and other hospitals. Probably they touched upon about 300 to 500 samples already. I mean, they are reaching to close to about 2 to 3,000 samples by this year end. So these are some of the examples, but there are so many. I mean, whatnot about 2 to 3 years of uh, time, like 2017 to 2020. Lot of products actually been developed by students, not only science students, that in the sense, biology background or chemistry or something, but if you can see the IIM graduates or management graduates, they actually apply for different grants, and actually they brought brilliant products in India, be it waste to value or diagnostics or any other healthcare sectors. That's what I'd like to say with this. Next slide, please. Yeah. So how to actually leverage all the support mechanisms? I think social media, we have several pros and cons, but I think even myself following several ministries in the social media, be it Twitter or LinkedIn and all. So you need to understand that being young researchers and young innovators in the country, try to follow these groups and actually understand what kind of programs are suitable for your particular stage of idea, whether it's a early stage or you're already having the MVP or a kind of proof of concept or small validations, large validations, or pre-commercialization. So each and every stage of your ideation to commercialization, you have fantastic opportunities by the government of India. So I think you have to leverage all these things, which can actually reflect on our society, how it can actually help our societal segments more efficiently. And again, emphasis on improving quality of living, every sphere, inclusive growth. So, I mean, you have to identify. I mean, everybody is talking about the problem solution. I mean, solutions basically, but identifying the real uh, problems in the community or the society is very important. That's why our programs, like the social innovation and immersion programs. Immersion is one important program that we can actually consider in all academic sectors, be it a BTech or BSc or PhD, whatever. You need to actually have some kind of industrial immersion or clinical immersion or agriculture immersion. So that is very important, where you can actually understand the real problems at the ground level. So finally, I would like to say, kind of framework to monitor progress and course correction and feedback mechanisms. Yeah, we take feedback often, but they're not so efficient. So there should be a kind of a robust feedback mechanism, so that we can actually reiterate our plan of action and our strategies for the betterment of our nation. So with that, I think I'd like to actually take any questions. Thanks for this opportunity, Dr. Anshu and the team of IMTECH. And I think looking forward to that exciting global conference. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Palela. And it was really nice listening to you. It's important for us to understand, as you rightly pointed out, the gap identification is very critical. And once you have identified the gap, as you said, the MVP, the minimal viable product, I think there has to be more awareness in terms of the fact that how do you ensure that the idea or the prototype that they are developing really has a value, what is the value chain
Yeah.
downstream. And you rightly pointed out that we need a framework. Just a question from my side for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many of these companies that you basically, as startups that you host at your innovation center, are based on AI or machine learning based solutions?
Yeah, at least half a dozen, because we till now supported about 48 or close to 50 startups as well as innovators. Out of that, we have hello. Yeah. So we have six companies. I think they are working in different, at least three companies directly. They are trying to work on genome analytics and healthcare analytics. And another three companies, they are trying to work. One company is working on identifying donor and recipient based on panel reactive proteins, existing data, and also the clinical data that they are procuring by collaborating with different hospitals. So you can actually reduce the time, turnaround time, TOT, to identify the donor for particular organ donation. Yeah. So, and another couple of companies are working in the IoT integrated medical devices, including, dialysis grade water producing device. That's very important because we are actually importing them from different companies. So this company just recently graduated and getting a lot of orders, and they went to the bigger facility, kind of close to $250,000 fund raised, and they are now joining with the Nipro company, Japanese company, to actually uh, to distribute all these low cost devices in India. So like that, another two more companies are working in the AML based things.
Oh, awesome. That's really good to know. And just one more thing, there is always this issue, challenges when it comes to scientific instrumentation or chemicals that even to do science, you need those things. So what kind of innovation is happening in that sphere that will make us self-reliant over the next few years?
Yeah. So I'll tell you two to three examples, especially for the instrumentation. I think already India, we got at least few hundreds of companies who are making these best instruments. However, the best in the sense, the quality, the percentage is a bit very less actually. The bigger groups of these companies, are trying to actually meet those international standards, but there are different gaps. So why I'm stressing on this point is that even Government of India, along with the Gates Foundation and other agencies, they are trying to join the hands to actually make different clusters in different cities, so that locally any of these companies who are making biological reagents or any diagnostic kit components or any other molecular biology reagents, etc. So, kind of optimizing and quality checking. That's been introduced recently in Bangalore and Hyderabad. I think Delhi is in process. Ahmedabad and other cities also, that kind of cluster based initiatives are coming up. So I think that's in place. I think we got that program about and Gates Foundation, and even find they're trying to, I mean, they actually gave some funds to CCMB and AIC CCMB. So it's about 2 months it started. So these companies are trying to optimize and also bring lot of best quality products, so that we can actually make the things within India, and we can actually depend on those particular products without any doubt. And similarly, instruments. One of our companies, they actually started a manufacturing facility. So whatever the small instruments that we have, at least more than a dozen or two dozens of them, that company is making with the best performance. And that company is also making a robot that can actually isolate nucleic acids automatically. Now they have 3 channel system, and they are increasing it to 12. They are actually augmenting it to 12 channel system. They are now actually integrating to PCR as well, so that the robot can actually do the nucleic acid extraction, and that sample will go to the PCR machine and it will do your job. So these kind of interventions are really important, and yes, there are several changes that are coming up in India. Yeah.
Wow. So that was awesome. Thanks a lot, Dr. Palela, for sharing your experience and what's going on right now, because I think it's important to exactly know what's going on right now so that we can plan appropriately for the future. Thanks a lot for being with us here today. And on behalf of CSR IMTECH, we would like to extend a very, thanks to you. And with that, I would like to hand over the event to Dr. Neeraj Mack.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anshu and Neeraj. So all the best for the event. I'll be there.
Yeah, thank you, Ramji. Thank you. So, our next speaker is Miss Pooja Gupta. Pooja did her UG from microbiology from University of Delhi. Then she joined Cambridge University, and she is Gates Cambridge alumnus. She did MPhil from Sir Tom Blunder Lab in University of Cambridge, and now she is currently a PhD student in York Structure Biology Lab, University of York. And as an undergraduate, Pooja served as editor and editor-in-chief, and subsequently as the president of Sukshma Jeev Society. She was actively engaged in organizing number of academic and co-curricular activities funded by the DBT's Star College scheme. So we thank you, Pooja, for accepting our invitation to speak on this occasion, and we look forward to hear from you. Over to you, Pooja, please.
Thank you, Neeraj ji. Thank you for the introduction. I shall share my screen now.
Yeah.
Oh, entire screen. Is my screen shared now? Can you see my slides?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hello to everybody. I'm Pooja, and my talk will be very different from Dr. Ramji's, of course, not just in terms of the content itself, but also the scale, because, of course, Ramji was outlining a vision for, scientists and students and postdocs and how to fund their research and translation and whatnot. But my talk is going to be very simply about my journey so far. And so in scale as well, it's going to be much, much smaller. But I do hope that those of you who are listening and who are young and are still thinking about what they want to do with their lives would find some bits of my story interesting. My talk, as you can see, is titled My Incomplete Guide to Becoming a Scientist. And that's because this is going to be advice from someone who's still figuring it out. So who am I? As Neeraj ji said, I did my microbiology degree from Bhaskaracharya College of Applied Sciences, which is a constituent college of the University of Delhi, from 2015 to 2018. And from 2018 onwards to 2019, or to October 2019, I was doing an MPhil at the Department of Biochemistry, University of Cambridge, and I was on the Gates Cambridge Scholarship for the same. And after finishing my MPhil at Cambridge, I have started a PhD in structural biology, and I'm currently on another scholarship. So basically, after my undergraduate degree, which was at the University of Delhi, and so the fees was negligible compared to the kind of fees you have to pay at private colleges in India or abroad, say universities abroad. My undergraduate degree was not very expensive at all compared to that. And it was quality education, which is something that, we take for granted. But the fact that our government institutions and universities are able to impart high quality education with limited resources really sets us up quite well to compete with people from all over the world, because of just because of how high quality yet affordable these government institutions are. So that is something that should be recognized and preserved. So this has been a brief introduction to my academic journey so far, and I like to say that my stamp collection has grown over the years, and it does. If you start pursuing higher degrees and you move to different institutions, you realize that in a short period of time. You've had multiple affiliations and you've met all kinds of people, which is something I will be talking about later. So that's that. But what am I going to advise you on? Essentially, I will, like I said, derive from my own experiences. This will be largely anecdotal. However, I'd like to believe that the distillation of these experiences will be somewhat insightful. And I think it's very important to say that the intention is not to preach. I'd just like to share with you some wisdom that I've found useful over the years. So I've structured this talk in a way that basically all the anecdotes can be summarized in these key takeaway messages. And so before I start talking about the first set of anecdotes, I should tell you what the takeaway message is from these anecdotes. And it is that I figured out what I really wanted to do and started working towards it as soon as possible. So I had realized I wanted to become a researcher by the age of 17, which, I was very young, obviously. But I think young people do have that kind of conviction if they can find it. And so it's important to remain open and receptive to things around you. And often, your career choice, it doesn't have to be a very big decision. You can just absorb things in your environment, and often you just realize, oh, you know what, this is what I want to do. And it doesn't have to be a very dramatic decision. But because I had, by the age of 17, realized I wanted to be a researcher, I just then kept myself open to all kinds of possibilities and opportunities that I could use to make this idea that I had, oh, I want to be a scientist. That's good. It's a good idea, but then what do you do to actualize that idea? And so I met Dr. Anshu, who's on the call at the moment, who is, well, a CSIR scientist, but back then she was working on the OSDD project. And I was taking my class 12 board exams when I met her. And this is a picture of me from the conference where we met. And after taking my class 12 board exams, I knew that I didn't want to go down the conventional route and take all the medical entrance exams and engineering entrance exams, and only because I should. Because I knew what I wanted to do, I was like, I'm not going to waste my time taking all these exams just so that I have a seat somewhere in case things don't work out. I instead decided to write to her, and she was very kind and let me work in her lab for 6 months before I started college. So before I started my degree at the University of Delhi. And based on this work that I did, I was able to publish my first paper, a scientific paper, as first author at the age of 19. And while I was working with her, I became involved in a workshop that she was organizing. So again, it's about remaining open to things that are happening around you, right? Because I was in her lab, I knew that she was working on this. So it became very easy for me to then insert myself into in the middle of the action and offer my help with whatever she was trying to do. And because I became involved in the workshop, I met Tom and others who are now dear friends. And this is me and Tom, and I'm presenting the work that I had published already at that point. And this is me and Ross, who I will talk about later. And this is us in the right So we're in Westminster, which is where the British Parliament is. So he now works as a parliamentary aide, but when I met him, he was at the Royal Society of Chemistry. So I've kept these friendships going. And so the idea, I think, that I want you all to take away from here is that if you figure out what you want to do early on, you can really get a head start, right? Because when you're that young, people take notice of the fact that you have that conviction and you have that motivation. And if you meet people like Dr. Anshu, who are very keen to help and very keen to nurture, then you are in a very good position to make the most of the opportunities that do come your way, because they always do if you remain receptive and open. The second takeaway message would be that I have tried to connect with people and was able to create unique opportunities with them. So after the workshop, I accompanied Tom, who actually I should have mentioned earlier. So Tom is Professor Tom Blundell. I call him Tom. He was the professor from Cambridge who was the coordinator for the workshop from UK, because it was a bilateral workshop. And so after the workshop, I accompanied Tom from Chandigarh, where the workshop was organized at IMTECH in 2016. And I accompanied Tom from Chandigarh to Delhi. And on that journey, in the car, we just talked about everything and anything. And towards the end, we just arranged that I would spend the summer of 2017 in his lab in Cambridge. And he agreed to pay for everything as well. And while I was in Cambridge, I reconnected with Ross, who I showed you a picture with on the previous slide, who was then at the Royal Society of Chemistry, but now works for the British Parliament. Now, why Ross is important is because Dr. Anshu, Tom, and Ross wrote letters for me when I applied for the MPhil at the Department of Biochemistry. And because I had met these people and had tried to connect with them as, as people, yes, they had their affiliations and their titles and whatever, but I tried to connect to them as people, as friends. And that, I think, was reflected in the letters they wrote for me. And I got the position and a full scholarship, which meant that I could actually go and study at Cambridge, because the fees are extortionate. They're not very affordable if you don't have a scholarship. So after I got the position and the scholarship, I went back to the summer of 2017 and met my future PhD supervisor at a barbecue party at the Department of Biochemistry. Back then, he was a postdoc, and I didn't know if he was, and I don't know what he was going to do with his life at that point, but he eventually went on to start his own group at York in later that year. And so that, again, was something I had at the back of my mind, that I know him and I know what his research interests are. And I know that he was now going to start his own group. And knowing Jamie personally then allowed us to design a PhD project that was ideal for my interests. And again, just as with Dr. Anshu and Tom and Ross, being involved in my application made it better and made me competitive for a full Gates scholarship. Here as well, knowing Jamie and his involvement with my PhD application just made it stronger. The third thing I think is very important is that I actively seek the unfamiliar. So, Pseudomonas species. Pseudomonas is a very commonly found, ubiquitous bacterial genus. And like these bacteria, I'm opportunistic and I don't worry too much about being in different environments with geographical restrictions. This is made dressed as a drug-resistant bacterium for Halloween. So why I say that is because I was offered a Ramanujan scholarship for a PhD at Cambridge as well, but at that point, I had started feeling that that Cambridge had become too familiar. So I chose York instead. And while I was in Cambridge and even at York, I was determined to not move only in Indian circles, because when you move to a different country, it isn't easy to strike conversations with people who are very different from you. But at the same time, I've learned so much about the world from a very diverse group of friends. And what's really important here is to recognize that confidence is very, very important, right? And the confidence to befriend people who are different, more accomplished, it's undeniably a function of privilege. If you feel like you have in the past said things that have made it easier for you to make friends, and if you believe that you have the social skills, then all of this is very easy. But at the same time, I'd like to say that if you fear that you wouldn't have anything interesting to say, work towards having something interesting to say and then just say it. Because the key thing to remember is that many good things begin with a friendship, right? The best institutions in the world are not faceless, nameless machines. They're made by people, and human connection is a very powerful thing. So, yeah, as cliched as this sounds, networking is very important. If you have a vision for yourself, obviously talent, hard work, if you want to do something, you must know how to do it. But at the same time, you also need to know the right people. I know it sounds terrible, but the best way to make the most of your skills is to then exhibit them to the right people so that they can then help you develop them even more. And at this point, I think I'd like to go back to the science for a bit, because I think in my head, at least, the metaphor works really well. And the idea here is that, if you're a human, or at the bottom of the screen, what you see are protein crystals. Now, humans and protein crystals, when exposed to X-rays, behave very differently. Humans can either look like that when exposed to X-rays, or they can become superheroes, or they can die if the dose is too lethal, too high. However, proteins, when crystallized, diffract X-rays, and you can use these diffraction patterns to get atomic models, and you can solve structures and actually visualize the shapes of proteins. And the idea is that when you are proteins in their native state, you don't know you can't really look at their structure when they're inside the bacterium or inside a cell. What you need to do is take the protein out of its native environment, put it in this chemical concoction, and wait for it to crystallize. And it is at this stage that the protein can actually be defined structurally. The analogy here is that humans are, in some ways, like proteins, in that while you're in a safe, comfortable, native environment, there is no reason for you to actually think about your identity, right? Because everybody you see around you is just like you. But when you're taken out of your native environment, put in a foreign environment that you don't really, that isn't familiar, it is then that you become more defined as an individual, because you have to think about different aspects of your personality and different aspects of your identity. And so seeking the unfamiliar is a great exercise in just figuring yourself out as a person. And this is me working on one of my structures. And the last message, I think, is I've always believed that when chosen with care, work can be very fulfilling. And I say this, of course, with again a degree of privilege, because I grew up in a relatively wealthy household, and only now that I've moved away, I really understand that one needs to pay the rent and buy food, and so jobs must pay well, right? However, I also still believe that work can give you so much more. It can give your life purpose and direction. And this is very important and goes back to the first thing I said about figure out what you want to do with your life and then get on with it. Like start working towards what you want to do. And if you believe that what you want to do with your life is not something that just helps you pay the bills, you want it to mean more. You want it to help people. You want it to now, I must say this. I'm not someone who does science because I think it can transform lives. I have very selfish reasons for doing science. I just like to figure things out. I just like to study bacteria. That's my reason. I just want to understand. And I know this isn't as wonderful a reason to do it, but yeah, people have different reasons to do science. And so it can give your life a lot of purpose and direction, which is a wonderful thing to have. Because one does need a guiding philosophy in life. It's useful to be anchored to something because it's so easy to feel unanchored. It's so easy to feel like you're drifting away. And I find that the scientific worldview, with all its flaws, is actually a very decent framework to function within, not just in the professional sphere, but like I demonstrated that little example about proteins crystallizing and humans being like proteins in that sense. You can use these ideas from science to make sense of your own reality in your everyday experience. And so my message would be to young people, put your heart into whatever you choose to do. It only adds to life. It doesn't take away a thing. And yeah, that's all I had to say. All the very best, and thank you very much for listening. You can ask me anything. That's my email, and you can also find me on Facebook. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pooja. Thanks for sharing your amazing scientific journey with us. And I can proudly say that you can be a wonderful role model for young students who are interested in pursuing science. And as one of the objective of this science festival also is to build scientific temper among the masses and the young children. So yeah. I must thank Dr. Anshu for giving your contact and inviting you for this wonderful talk. Thank you, Pooja, once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anshu, you want to say something?
No, I think I have seen her grow as a kid from school to now. I think what people learn in probably 60 years of their life, she did in 6 years. So that's pretty amazing. Keep it up, Pooja. Do very well. And I sincerely hope that more and more students realize very early on, as Pooja said, what is it you would like to do and start working in that direction with, so much focus, energy, and hard work. So thank you so much. That's all. All the best, Pooja.
Thank you for everything, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. So Anshu, maybe our next speaker is Dr. Ramesh Soni. Dr. Ramesh, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. So as we have already discussed that the theme of our IISF 2020 is Atmanirbhar Bhartaye Vishwa Kalyanyam Cha Vigyanam, that is science for self-reliant India and global welfare. And our next means Dr. Ramesh Soni is doing the same thing. He has applied his scientific knowledge for development of providing solutions for drinking water, and he has set up his company Vayujal Technologies, which aims to alleviate the global water shortage crisis through the development and manufacturing of atmospheric water generators. And this company is incubated at IIT Madras Research Center and is part of Water for Future initiative. So I welcome you, Dr. Ramesh, and it's all yours. Maybe you can start, please.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Neeraj. Just a correction, I'm not yet doctor.
Okay.
So that's so much of, it's very good to hear it, but I'm yet to, I'm far away from that. So, and thank you, Chander sir, and you and Sanjeev Khosla sir for having me here. Thank you, Anshu ma'am, for having me here. So I'll just turn on the video. Okay, so I listened to the previous speaker, Ramji sir, and also Ms. Pooja. So, I get this, we have two different, but the way I understand that the purpose of this talk is that I should be talking about how the science can help the upcoming generation. And so Dr. Ramji presented how what are the opportunities are available for the upcoming young scientists, I would say. And Pooja is one example, such, how provided the opportunity, how people can be a fantastic example, and, they can achieve so much. So I would kind of talk about my journey. So I would like how things progressed in my life and from where do I come from. So so I come from Rajasthan. It's in a district called Hanumangarh, and I'm basically from a village. So if I'm just saying this story so that if somebody can relate it to me, and if even few percentage of the current audience today can relate it, and if they can try to follow it, that would be so great. So I basically come from a village where we were taught in Hindi medium. So I have never spoke about this before. There are certain things I'm going to speak, because till now the most of the presentations which I had were more on technical or the the business pitch, or asking for funds, but it was nowhere about the journey, right? So I will be talking a bit about the the journey and the background of my life, and then later on little bit about the technical parts of how things are working, going on with me. So so I studied in a village till 10th. We had in my village a school till 8th class only, and I was in Hindi medium, and so I did my 9th and 10th in a school which was actually used to had permission to teach till 8th because of some medical conditions. So after completing 10th, as Pooja said, the kind of friendship you choose affects you a lot. So basically my family was trying to put me in a job after completing my 10th, because I did not score very good. I only scored 56% in my 10th. So they were like, we'll put you in a job and you'll get some money. And that's how the trend in villages are. So there was somebody in my family, he was a teacher, and teacher always does a very good job. There are some teachers who literally transforms your life. So again, there is one example here. So this person tells me that, tells my family, don't put him into this business line, just let him study more. So I always used to be fascinated by, when you study in 10th, you always imagine ki, had I been in a good school, I would get to play with these burettes. I would get to play with this glass, in chemistry lab or physics lab. Somehow, because of his teacher's recommendations, I got into a school in Rajasthan, in state called district called Sikar. So I studied there for 2 years in my 11th and 12th. I studied physics, chemistry, math, and then for a year I was in Kota. So I did not really had an idea about IITs till I was 10th, or I didn't had much idea about how many IITs are there in India uh, till I was 12th. By the time I was completing my 11th, sorry. But when I came to Kota, and by end of 12th, you get some pictures, what is going on in your life. You just came out of your little sphere, and things are, opportunities are vast. People are doing so good. There are so many examples in front of you. So I came to Kota with this aspiration that I would be getting into an IIT and, make something good out of my life. However, there's one thing which I heard while spending, this is the only output which I would say that I had from 1 year of my life at Kota, that there was a teacher again who said this key, nanotechnology or the micro technology are going to be the next industrial revolution. Something like the IT revolution happened. The nanotechnology is going to be the next big thing. And at that moment, I stopped thinking about IITs, because there are no IITs which is actually offers you a professional degree in nanotechnology. So I got into SRM, this college here. So in Chennai, I'm in Chennai right now. So there so they offer, at that time there were only two universities, Amity University in Noida and SRM University here. They were offering BTech in nanotechnology, and so hence I came to Chennai. I joined SRM, and now this is again some challenges, right? So I was completely from Hindi medium, and being Chennai, things are very different here. All the people were from very good, the CBSE background, or so relatively in my class there were only three people who knew Hindi, who were from the state board. Somehow things went well, and again I was in good company with of friends who had some aspiration, and we formed a kind of group. We wanted to make we'll talk about nanotechnology. We'll form a group, and we'll make a stage where anybody can come and talk about anything of their interest. If somebody wants to talk about ancient science, they can talk. If somebody wants to talk about nanotechnology, they can talk about it. So somehow I got into good company of people, and I started doing internships on my third semester onwards. So I did my internship at IIC, IISF Bhopal, IISc and IIT Madras. And the time I got into IIT Madras, I never left IIT Madras after that. So I completed my nanotechnology. So also the reason I joined nanotechnology was that, again, big industrial revolution, and we will be getting a lot of money if we become a part of that. However, that did not happen. There are no companies which will actually offer a core job to the nanotechnology graduates, because the curriculums are such that these are research oriented curriculum. So you are not completely a researcher by end of your bachelor, like you are not a professional, or also not a professional. So you had only one choice: either you go to IT companies, or you go to research line. So I continued with the research line, and I joined Professor Pradeep here. And after that, I continued with that. So the first project which I was and after that my journey with water began. So I will share my presentation now, and okay. So this should come. Okay. So okay. So if you see, right, so when I was doing my internships, I worked in different areas: theoretical physics, mechanical engineering, environmental engineering, condensed matter physics, and eventually when I started with Professor Pradeep, the project of water was given to me that can we make a solution where people in flooded area can get drinkable water. So that was the problem statement which I had in my hand, and I started my the current life, the life I'm living right now. So if you see this picture, this is the Indian scenario, and similar is the global scenario. We don't have water to drink. Some picture. So this is actually picture of me in back in a few years back. So this is my village, and that's how we get water. And now, so this the scenario after 2 years is that this is not available now. You have to get water by tankers. So by getting water via tankers is a common scenario in cities. Like let's say in Chennai, it's very common. But getting water by tanker in village, it's not a normal scenario. And when you live that kind of scenario, you're bound to think that what kind of future are we going to have if we do not become water conscious individual. So this is one trigger. I would not say that this is the only trigger which I work with water. I have other triggers to work with water, but this is one reason that keeps me connected with water. So right now, my family gets water because of tanker, using tankers, and similar is the case for many families in my village. So as I told, I began my task with making a solution which can give you drinking water in flood-prone area. So we try to come up with something which were available in the lab and also add something. So this is one picture of me and one of my teammates here. So we presented a solution which can give you drinkable water using materials and membrane. So this, if you see, this is a bottle cap here, and this bottle uses 4 steps of filtration. So you can take water from anywhere and filter it, and what comes out is so you have the membranes which will give you bacteria and viral free water. And then you have the materials which will again which will take care of the chemical contamination. What you get is a drinkable water. And then we had something more, which is another problem which I worked on was that in rural areas, as you showed, people carry water, and most of the time it's the children and the women in our house, our sisters or our mothers, and sometimes the male also. But so in this practice of carrying water, you end up spending a lot of time. And since being a water conscious person, I can say that the water which you get is not drinkable water in majority of the cases. But at village level, or the majority of people who live in at the base of the pyramid, they are not much conscious about the water. They will just filter that water and drink it. So this was a system where you can fill water in a drum and roll it. So you don't need to put that 20 liters of water over your head and carry it to your house. In spite of that, you can put this water in your drum, roll it, and while you're rolling it, you have put a concussion of biological stuff. So this is what we use here. So normally we use silver nanomaterials as in disinfectant. But what we used here was research was done in the lab, and we tried to we put in this product form. So it was a mixture of carbonate with silver nanoparticles. So if you put that kind of mixture, the biocidal activity increases by 1,000-fold. So what you expect in 24 hours, you can get the same thing in 20 minutes. So by the time you reach your home and you had a biological contaminated water, you will get clean drinking water. And so we had this system. So this system is designed. So this is first prototype, and we are making right now. We are making more prototypes, and so for this, we formed a company to take this to market, which is called Equise Innovations Private Limited. So this is that story. So this is again a scenario in Chennai. Chennai literally does not have water in spite of being a city in coastal area. The drinking water is not available due to several reasons, because the surface water is not there, or it has been contaminated. The groundwater has become saline, or it's because of the, because of its vicinity to the coastal area. So eventually, you do not have drinking water. So we in 2016, when we were working, we had this, or I would rather say, Professor Pradeep had this idea, this key, can we get this water from atmosphere? We have this, when in morning when you wake up, we have so much of water, we see the small drops on the leaves, and can we do this? So we did some research, we found, so we started this work on atmospheric water generators in 2016. And since then, we did many experiments. We used to do experiments in night. Because humidity is high in the night and the temperature is equal, so that the climate is very much suitable to collect water from air. The reason of doing this was that you have air, and mostly air has humidity in different, sometimes it's low, somewhere it's high. But air with humidity is everywhere available. It's globally available, and it's a renewable source. And no matter how much humidity you take it out from this, every time the humidity comes back to atmosphere. And we almost have around 1.4 million liters of water available in this atmosphere. So it's actually another renewable water source for us. So we started work. We used to do experiments in night time, in 2 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. because that's the naturally cold time, which has high humidity, less temperature. And we used to see how the surfaces, different surfaces, which we used to prepare, are functioning. So we came up with some surface which has, this is one paper which was published. And so the basic idea is that there are so many animal species and plant species which lives their life completely by collecting water from atmosphere. So these are few animals, plant species, and one animal species, right? So this is Tenokara Beetle. He lives his whole life in desert by collecting his own water. You can see the picture, right? This will stand 45 degree, and the wings that will collect water will roll to his mouth. He'll drink. He'll live his life. Similarly, you have the Cacti Plant. It has got this conical structure, and these conical structures gives you some Laplace pressure gradient, and the water comes towards. And also these cones which are available, they provide nucleation points for water condensing. And so this was a paper where both the biomimetics, the phenomena or the motivation was combined and put it on like you had a conical surface, and on top of that you can do the hydrophobicity and hydrophilicity engineering and get a very good structure. So like this, motivated by this, we started making atmospheric water generator. We had a surface which followed a cacti philosophy, and we do this kind of, we made products, and this is how those, you filter the air, you collect water from that filtered air, and then you process it, and then add minerals and give it for drinking. So we come in picture there where we do the micro nano engineering of the surface, and this is the whole internal component which happens in the life of atmospheric water generators. So this is I will try to play this video if I can play. Okay, so this is one experiment which you can see. So you see the drops are forming and then they disappear. So this is a mesh which has this conical structure with hydrophobic and hydrophilic coatings, and then so they serve as nucleating points, and the water gets condensed on it, and then slowly once the drop becomes to some size, it gets absorbed on the hydrophilic pad, which is collected on the backside, and then the water gets dropped in the collection tray. So this was the philosophy which we used, and then this way we got the water. Just a minute. So, okay, yeah. So these are the few products which we're having, and we presented this to Prime Minister when he visited here. So this is our factory, which we have started, and we have made different version of, using different versions of our product. We have supplied till now around 150,000 liters of drinking water, and this project is going on. We have reached different cities in India now. We have reached Goa, we have reached Mumbai, we have reached Ahmedabad, we have reached Delhi, and we are definitely operating in Chennai. So this was a glance of my journey. Yeah. So this is just a this is picture I have kept here because this is what I want to do really. This is as I would say, this is what I really want. So you do atmospheric water generator, and you can do this by collecting, by spending electricity, right? So what we are doing is we take electricity to do this condensation, but if we can make a material and which has this capacity to absorb water, right? So this is the problem which I have. This is the problem I'm posing to everybody. So we have so much of different varieties of materials available with us, right? And there are materials which captures humidity. Like you in home we have salt, the salt which we add to our food. You keep it outside, it will capture humidity, and you heat it, it will release that humidity. So I want similar kind of material only, but with high capacity to hold the water content and release it soon. So I'm looking at my desire is to, or my purpose or the end goal of starting this company is that if we can have a material which can capture humidity without spending any electricity and then release it back the moment you expose it to sun. And if we can do so, right? So this is how it would look like. You put it in night, it captures the humidity, it becomes bigger, it swallows, and when you expose it to sun, it starts giving you water out. So this is what my vision is, and till the time we reach this, we do our R&D in IIT Madras. We are still working with Professor Pradeep, and we are very thankful to him. And so this is my journey using biodiesel technologies, and the immense, the benefit of doing this is that you get to solve a big challenge of this whole world, right? Now everybody is talking about water. If you see even the politicians, or every community which you find on this earth, or the community which are very impactful, if you talk about the politics or the industrialists or the R&D or the academicians, these all communities are talking about water, how to get water for future. And if one individual or one group of people can do the work or can get this kind of solution, it would be a great help to the whole society, to the whole world, and it would be immense satisfaction. And with that, I would stop. And so you can, yeah. So with that, I would stop, and I can be reached at so just on Biogel page. You can ping me, or you can ping me on Facebook, and that's it. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope my time was helpful to my listeners. Thank you so much.
Hats off to you, Ramesh. And we appreciate your efforts for providing solution for water shortage problem of India. And I would like to add here that this is, United Nations have set up their 17 agendas for sustainable development goals, and water is one of their main agenda. Sixth agenda, I think. Am I correct,
No,
guys?
sir. Yeah. So, sir, I showed that picture because if you look at the 17 agendas, 16 agenda out of them are related to water. If you talk about women safety or the women empowerment, give them good water, they will be empowered.
Yeah.
Hygiene, give them good water, you will take care of hygiene, and definitely water. Energy, energy sector is taking a lot of water right now. So there are 16 out of the 17 SDG which are indirectly related to water. So
Right.
it's a water is like key to solving the problem of world.
Good. So maybe now I would request Dr. Sanjeev Khosla to say a few words.
Yeah, it was really inspiring listening to the three speakers today. I must really congratulate them in their journeys, and I can see lot of science being done around India and abroad by our young scientists, and I'm really proud proud of the achievements that they have made. Yes, we talk about doing science for the benefit of the society, as Pooja mentioned, but what Pooja also mentioned was that, and I fully agree with her, is that the most important thing about being in science is asking question and trying to find what that answer is. And I think so that makes all the difference. I think so if you run behind science, everyone runs behind you. So I think so this is a lesson. I think so we need to take it to the general masses, the society in general. No matter what, the scientific way of life is better than any way you want to live in. So I think so it's important, and all the three guests have actually made us learn a lot of new things. Must again congratulate them. It's really inspiring to hear them tell us about their stories, and I think so it was really inspiring. I don't have any more words. Thank you very much, and I'll give it back to Neeraj to conclude the session now. Thank you.
Sir, please stay with us. Don't turn off your camera. Pooja, are you there?
I am, yes, I'm turning my camera on as well.
Yeah.
I'm here.
We would like to have a snap of photo. We would like to take photo. So now, Anshu, I think maybe you can propose a vote of thanks.
Yeah, I think Dr. Sanjeev did a very good concluding session in terms of recognizing what each one of the speaker really taught us today. I think my vote of thanks would begin by thanking our awesome speakers. And in context of self-reliance, Dr. Ramji told us about how we can do innovation in policy and strategy. In terms of Pooja, what we can do in context of basic science, and of course, putting all that together. Ramesh told us how you can really, take all of that together to address a global issue. So I think what drives them is passion. That's the common theme with all three of the speakers who we heard today. And thanks to all of you for accepting our invitation and for being here with us. And for this to happen, I must really put on record and thank Dr. Neeraj, who is basically the coordinator of IISF Curtain Raiser at India, like at CSR IMTECH. And along with him, the team, this is Sachin Rawat, Bhupinder Singh, Shekhar and the IT team. They all have, we really did a sprint here because we've had a very little time, and I must thank all the speakers to help us get this done. At the end, I would like to really thank Dr. Sanjeev Khosla, because with our because of the pandemic, we often meet online and not so much in person. But his vision in terms of pushing us to scientific excellence and the freedom to think about doing good science and how we can make a difference is something that allows us to do these events and to listen and learn from the experiences of others. So with that, I would really like to thank him. He's actually the host of the event. We should be thanking him actually. But yeah, just to tell that, it's a lot reassuring when you know that you are led by somebody who shares the vision and passion to make all of us self-reliant in that context. And in the end, I would really like to thank the IISF coordination team who thought about this idea many years ago. And if Pooja remembers, we were at the first IISF event presenting all our lab posters there. So we started, so we have been engaged with all IISF events so far. So that's one thing, because it actually gives you the opportunity to talk to people who you normally never meet in a day-to-day context. So it's a platform that allows you to interface with the wider community. So with that, I would like to tell you that all the listeners of this curtain raiser, we have curtain raiser number 2 coming on Monday at 3 o'clock. We'll be launching the teaser of our antimicrobial resistance video game. And please learn, come and play. So सीखो, सिखाओ और हमें बताओ कि हम और अच्छा क्या कर सकते हैं. And with that, I would like to close the session. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Maybe you can spread the word about IISF also. Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.